Good morning. My name is Abby Wallace, and for my senior project, I did Stop the Bleed. My essential question was, what are the essential steps to get Stop the Bleed kits distributed throughout Millis High School and get the staff trained in how to use them? I will dive more into the bigger aspects of my project later in the presentation, but I wanted to start off with the timeline. In August, Stop the Bleed kits were delivered to the high school via Dr. Peter Hopewood. He's a surgeon from Falmouth, Massachusetts, and works in the legislative branch of Stop the Bleed. It's September. My first project idea got shut down due to logistical issues, and that's when Ms. Molinari approached me with the idea of doing Stop the Bleed. In October, after I decided that's what I wanted to do, I sat down on a call with Dr. Hopewood, and he explained to me the basics of what Stop the Bleed was, the legislative aspects in Massachusetts, and kind of the background of the organization. In November, I talked to the Millis Fire Department and scheduled a time for myself to be trained as an instructor in Stop the Bleed, and I coordinated with Ms. Knowlton in setting up a time where I could train staff. On December 2nd, I went throughout the Millis High School, middle school, and elementary schools to give a brief overview of what my project was going to be and an opportunity for all of the teachers to sign up and participate. On December 5th, I went over to the Millis Fire Department and was trained as an instructor of the Bleed along with several other firefighters. On December 11th, I held an about 1.5 hour training session at the Millis Library, where I was able to certify about 30 staff members. And then on May 5th, the last of the kits were distributed throughout the schools to the staff who participated. I would just like to take a minute to talk about my mentor, which is Ms. Molinari. She was incredibly helpful throughout this entire process, start to finish. For those of you who don't know, she is the middle school and high school nurse. She is a master's certified nurse and worked in pediatrics for over 28 years before becoming the high school nurse, which she has been for almost a decade. With her background, she is incredibly knowledgeable in healthcare and was able to help me with any of the healthcare related issues that this project presented. And she was knowledgeable with all of the staff and able to connect me with anybody that I need to know to logistically prepare this project. She also has previous Stop the Bleed knowledge and was the point of contact with Dr. Hopewood in getting these kits delivered. So why Stop the Bleed? I chose this project because I have always been interested in healthcare. I have aspirations to become a physician after college, and one specifically in emergency medicine. And Stop the Bleed was the perfect starting point for, understanding emergency medicine and getting into that kind of world. And also there was a school need as these kits were distributed to the school with no plans of training the staff or making sure that they felt comfortable and how to use these kits if their need arose. So you're probably wondering, what is Stop the Bleed? At its core, this is an organization that provides material supplies or Stop the Bleed kits with the goal of empowering bystanders to act in a bleeding crisis before professional help could arrive. This is incredibly important as minutes really matter in a bleeding crisis, as someone can die in a matter of minutes before professional help can arrive. These kits are designed to be used by most age groups and have simple and clear instructions that encourage bystanders and non-trained people to be able to use them. They are supplied free by all Department of Defense partners, as this was implemented by the White House in 2015. This was started after the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012 and wanted to raise awareness of helping others that were not trained to stop bleeding crises. To date, they've trained nearly 4 million people in over 150 countries and grow every year. STP kits are not standard in that they contain things not typically found in the standard first aid kit. These include tourniquets, compression band-aids, scissors, gloves and markers, and bleeding control bandages, which are special bandages that contain hemostat on them, and these help your blood clot faster and thus stop bleeding faster. They also include instructions. I'm going to take a second to talk about the local legislation in Massachusetts around Stop the Bleed. Right now, there are 2 bills, one in the House and one in the state Senate. The first was put forth by Representative Marcus Vaughn. He is the representative of Norfolk, and he proposed this bill, which would require Stop the Bleed kits in all public and charter schools. The second was in the Senate, and forth by Michael Rush. He would require the kits in all public buildings and in high traffic areas, not just in schools. These include government buildings, and just both of these bills are to encourage public awareness around the topic. Like I mentioned, on December 5th, I was trained at the firehouse to become an instructor and certified to be able to teach Stop the Bleed to others. Firefighter Jason Wilson connected me with Meredith Kennedy. She is a charge nurse at the Good Samaritan Medical Center in Boston, and she was helpful enough, and she brought in all of the training materials, which are right there, and certified me and as well as a few other firefighters to become instructors. I took some photos of us learning tourniqueting and wound packing, and just a photo of the training kits themselves. Like I mentioned earlier, on December 11th, I held a training session with Mills Public Schools staff in the high school library. This lasted about an hour and a half, and I was able to certify about 30 people. There are a lot of photos here from the event, and we combined both didactic as well as hands-on learning. So I started with explaining the basics of bleeding control and wound packing, and then broke out into hands-on learning where participants were able to tourniquet themselves and others and learn the basics of compression and wound packing. Here's some other photos. Meredith Kennedy also joined me at this event, and she was grateful enough to supply all of the training materials, and as well as brought several of her staff to help me make sure that all participants felt trained and knowledgeable. These are my favorite photos from the event, as Mr. Fallon, Mr. Carter, and Mr. Bigelow took the opportunity very seriously, and I believe that they got a lot out of it. When reflecting on this project and thinking of the vision of a graduate, I believe that my project touched on all four aspects. Starting with collaboration, this was the most important, as I needed to be able to learn and convey information in an easily digestible way to a lot of people. This project made me step outside of my comfort zone, as I had to become the teacher to all of my teachers, and just kind of present something that I wasn't quite as familiar with. Also, I needed to be able to think critically through evaluating sources, determining biases, and determining what sources were good and not in all of my research reports, as well as understanding what was necessary and what wasn't in training non-medical people in the basics of medical training. Also, this project forced me to collaborate with a lot of different people, not only with the school, with Ms. Knowlton and all of the school principals for setting up ways for all of the staff to participate, but also with the Wallace Fire Department and the Good Samaritan Medical Center to get them to allow me to become a certified instructor, as well as setting up times so they could come in and train the staff along with me. And lastly, character. This project forced me to really empathize with a lot of people. Some of the staff were a little apprehensive or maybe nervous about doing things of this nature. Maybe they were nervous about looking at some images or understanding the kind of situations that would involve a bleeding crisis. And I really needed to become empathetic and put myself into their shoes so that I could thoroughly train them and make sure that all staff were felt comfortable regardless of their background. I just wanted to give a quick thank you to some of the people that made this project possible. Ms. Molinari was incredibly helpful throughout everything, and I could not have done it without her. And then this is Meredith Kennedy, who trained myself and allowed me to train all of the staff. and then also firefighter Otis, as he was kind of the coordinator between myself and Meredith Kennedy. This is my works cited. Does anyone have any questions?